the warning ignored. Commander Thrakis of the Vorten Collective stood at the command platform of his warship, the Crimson Talon, watching the viewscreen with growing curiosity. His fleet of 23 vessels had been traveling through uncharted space for weeks, mapping new territories for potential colonization. The Vortens were an ambitious species, always seeking to expand their influence across the galaxy. Thrakis had built his reputation on successful conquests, and he had no intention of letting that record fade. The sensor officer, a young Vorten named Kelris, turned from his console with a puzzled expression. His scaled skin reflected the blue light of the instruments around him. "Commander, we are detecting multiple objects ahead. They appear to be artificial constructs arranged in a grid pattern." Thrakis moved closer to examine the data. "How many?" Kelris manipulated his controls, and the numbers appeared on the main display. "Exactly 144, sir. They form a perfect perimeter around a vast region of space. The region contains approximately 70 star systems." The commander felt a surge of excitement. 70 star systems represented enormous potential for the collective. Resources, territory, strategic positioning. This could be the discovery of his career. "Bring us closer. Full sensor analysis. I want to know everything about those objects." As the fleet approached, the objects became visible on the main screen. They were cylindrical structures, each about 50 meters long, floating in the void of space. Their surfaces were smooth and metallic, showing no signs of age despite clearly being very old. Strange symbols covered each beacon, glowing with a faint golden light. "Commander, we are receiving transmissions from the beacons," reported Mira, the communications specialist. Her voice carried a note of concern that Thrakis noticed but chose to ignore. "Put it through the translator." The ship's advanced translation system worked quickly, processing the signal. Within moments, text began appearing on every screen throughout the bridge. The message was simple but clear. "Warning. Human territorial boundary. Entry strictly forbidden. This region is under permanent quarantine by unanimous galactic decree. Any vessel crossing this perimeter will be met with extreme measures. Turn back immediately. No exceptions will be granted." Thrakis read the message twice then laughed. It was a cold sound that echoed through the silent bridge. "Humans? The extinct species?" Kelris looked up from his station nervously. "Sir, according to our historical databases, humans disappeared from galactic affairs approximately 500 years ago. Most scholars believe they destroyed themselves in some kind of catastrophic event. Their home world and all their colonies went silent simultaneously. No one has heard from them since." The commander walked around the command platform, his mind racing with possibilities. 500 years is a long time. Whatever happened to them, they are clearly gone now. These beacons are nothing more than ancient relics, automated warnings left behind by a dead civilization. "But sir, the beacons are still functional," Mira protested. "They are transmitting in 17 different languages, including several modern ones that did not exist when humans disappeared. Someone has been updating them." Thrakis waved his hand dismissively. "Automated systems can run for centuries with proper maintenance protocols. These beacons probably have self-repair functions built into them. It means nothing." He turned to his navigation officer. "Plot a course through the perimeter. We are going to investigate what lies beyond." "Sir, I must strongly advise against this," said Dr. Valen, the fleet's chief science officer. He was an elderly Vorten whose scales had faded to a pale gray with age. "If there is even a small chance that humans still exist in that region, we should proceed with extreme caution. They were known to be highly advanced and extremely territorial." Thrakis felt his patience wearing thin. "Doctor, I respect your experience, but I will not allow superstition and fear of ghosts to prevent us from claiming valuable territory for the collective. The humans are gone. These warnings are empty threats from a dead civilization. We are moving forward." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances, but no one dared to contradict their commander directly. Thrakis had a reputation for punishing dissent, and everyone knew that challenging his decisions was a quick way to end a career. The fleet moved toward the perimeter slowly and carefully. As they approached the line of beacons, the warning messages grew more urgent and more specific. "Final warning. Your vessel identification has been recorded. Commander Thrakis of the Vorten Collective, you are making a grave error. The consequences of crossing this boundary cannot be undone. Turn back while you still have the opportunity." Thrakis felt a chill run down his spine when he heard his name. How could an automated system know who he was? But he pushed the thought aside. The beacons must have scanned their ship's identification codes and accessed some kind of galactic database. It was impressive technology but nothing more than a clever trick. Forward, he commanded. All ships, maintain formation and prepare for standard exploration protocols. The Crimson Talon crossed the perimeter first, followed by the rest of the fleet. The moment they passed the line of beacons, the warning messages stopped. The sudden silence felt unnatural, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Status report, Thrakis demanded. Kalrish checked his instruments carefully. All systems normal, sir. No hostile action detected. The beacons have gone dark, but I am reading strange energy signatures throughout this region. It is like the entire area is covered by some kind of monitoring network. What kind of network? I cannot determine the source, sir. The technology is unlike anything in our databases. It is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. If I did not know better, I would say the fabric of space itself has been modified somehow. Thrakis ignored the worried tone in Kalrus's voice and focused on the view screen. Ahead of them, the first star system within the Forbidden Zone was coming into view. It contained 9 planets orbiting a yellow star similar to the legendary human sun. Take us to the nearest planet, Thrakis ordered. Full sensor sweep. I want to know if there is anything valuable here. As they approached, the sensors revealed something unexpected. The 4th planet from the sun had once been inhabited. Cities covered entire continents, their structures still standing after centuries of abandonment. Orbital stations circled the planet in perfect formation, their lights dark and their systems silent. But everything was too perfect. There was no debris, no signs of battle or disaster, no indication of what had happened to the inhabitants. It was as if millions of beings had simply vanished one day, leaving everything behind exactly as it was. Dr. Valen studied the readings with growing unease. Commander, this is extraordinary. The cities show no signs of decay. The buildings should have crumbled after 5 centuries of neglect, but they look as if they were built yesterday. How is that possible? Perhaps the humans had advanced preservation technology, Thrakis suggested, though even he was starting to feel uncertain. Send down a survey team. I want samples and a full analysis of those structures. Sir, Mira interrupted suddenly. I am detecting power fluctuations on the orbital stations. Something is activating. On screen. The view screen shifted to show a closer view of the nearest orbital station. As they watched, lights began appearing along its surface. Sections that had been dark for centuries were coming to life, glowing with a soft blue radiance. The station was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Crimson Talon, and it was waking up. Kalrus's voice was tight with fear. Commander, I am reading massive energy buildups throughout the system. Every station, every structure on the planet, even satellites we did not know were there. They are all activating simultaneously. Red alert, Thrakis barked, his warrior instincts finally overriding his ambition. All ships, raise shields and prepare weapons. He had made a terrible mistake and he knew it. But it was too late to turn back now. The orbital stations completed their activation sequence in perfect synchronization. Then as one they turned to face the Vorten fleet. In the distance something much larger began to move. A structure so massive that they had mistaken it for a moon was changing position. It had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as a natural satellite. Now it revealed its true nature as an enormous space fortress, bristling with weapons technology that made Imperial armaments look primitive. Commander, Mira said in a shaking voice. We are being scanned. Every ship in our fleet is being analyzed down to the molecular level. Whatever is doing this has complete information about our capabilities, our weapons, our shields, everything. Thrakis felt cold dread settling in his chest. He had spent his entire career conquering weaker species and claiming their territory. He had never encountered a situation where he was completely outmatched. Until now. A new message appeared on every screen throughout the fleet. But this time it was not a warning. It was a statement of fact. You were clearly informed. You chose to ignore our warnings. Now you will understand why humanity withdrew from the galaxy. Now you will pay the price for your arrogance. Welcome to our territory, Commander Thrakis. We have been waiting for you. The price of arrogance. The massive space fortress moved with impossible grace for something so large. Thrakis watched in horror as the structure positioned itself between his fleet and the only exit from the system. His ships were trapped, surrounded by dozens of orbital stations that had awakened from their long sleep. Every weapon on every Vorten vessel was armed and ready, but something told him that firing would be the last mistake he ever made. Commander, all our ships are reporting the same thing, Kalrus said, his voice barely above a whisper. We cannot move. Some kind of field has locked us in place. Our engines are running at full power, but we are completely frozen. Thrakis gripped the edge of his command platform until his claws scraped against the metal. What kind of field? What technology is this? Unknown, sir. It is not affecting our life support or internal systems, only our propulsion. We are being held like insects in amber. Before Thrakis could respond, the space in front of the Crimson Talon began to shimmer and distort. Light gathered and condensed, forming a three-dimensional image that appeared to float in the void outside their ship. The image showed a human woman, tall and dignified, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see through everything. She wore a uniform of deep blue with symbols that might have been rank insignia. Her expression was calm, almost sad as she looked directly at Thrakis through the view screen. "Commander Thrakis of the Vorten Collective," the woman said. Her voice was transmitted directly to every ship in the fleet, bypassing their communication systems entirely. "I am Coordinator Elena Vasquez of the Human Remnant Council. You have violated our territorial boundary despite explicit warnings. You have entered a space that was sealed by unanimous agreement of 63 galactic civilizations 5 centuries ago. You have ignored the clearest possible instructions to turn back. Now you will hear the truth that your people have forgotten." Thrakis found his voice, though it took effort. "We know nothing of any agreement. Our records contain no mention of human territory or any treaty concerning this region. You speak of things that do not exist in our databases." "Of course you do not," Elena replied. "That was part of the arrangement. All records of humanity were to be classified, restricted, or destroyed. The galaxy was meant to forget we ever existed. We wanted it that way. We needed it that way." Dr. Valen stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "What? Why would an entire species choose to be forgotten?" The coordinator's expression grew more somber. "Because we were too dangerous to remain part of galactic civilization. 500 years ago, humanity was at the height of its power. We had colonies on 600 worlds. Our technology surpassed every other species we encountered. Our military could defeat any force that challenged us. We were becoming unstoppable, and that terrified us more than it terrified anyone else." Mira spoke up from her station. "But the records say you destroyed yourselves in a civil war. That you went extinct." "A convenient fiction," Elena said. "One that we carefully crafted and spread throughout the galaxy. The truth is far simpler and far more frightening. We did not destroy ourselves. We looked at what we were becoming and made a choice. We saw that our nature, our adaptability, our talent for warfare, was turning us into the very monsters we had always fought against. We were conquering not because we needed to, but because we could." Thrakis felt a chill despite himself. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that humanity recognized a fundamental truth about ourselves. We excel at conflict. We adapt to any situation. We learn from every encounter and become stronger. Every species we met, we either absorbed or defeated. We were the ultimate survivors, the perfect warriors. And that perfection was turning us into galactic tyrants." "So what did you do?" asked Dr. Valen, leaning forward with intense interest. "We called a gathering of every major galactic civilization," Elena explained. "We revealed our own analysis of our psychological and sociological patterns. We showed them projections of what would happen if humanity continued on its current path. Within 2 centuries we would dominate half the galaxy. Within 5, perhaps all of it. Not through malice but through simple inevitable expansion. The other civilizations were horrified, but we offered them a solution." "What solution?" Thrakis demanded. "Complete withdrawal," the coordinator said simply. "We would leave galactic affairs entirely. We would seal ourselves away in a region of space that no one wanted, 70 star systems filled with marginal worlds and limited resources. We would erase ourselves from galactic memory. In return, the other civilizations would enforce our isolation. They would create the warning beacons. They would spread the story of our extinction. And they would agree never to enter our territory or seek us out." Kelrus looked confused. "But why would they agree to that? Why not simply destroy you if you were such a threat?" Elena smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Because they tried, young one. Before the agreement was reached, 7 different civilizations launched coordinated strikes against human space. They brought their finest fleets, their most advanced weapons, their most brilliant tactical minds. All 7 fleets were destroyed within 72 hours. We did not want to win those battles, but we did. That is when everyone understood that the only way to be safe from humanity was to let us remove ourselves willingly." Thrakis felt his world shifting beneath him. Everything he thought he knew about galactic history was a lie. The extinct humans were not extinct at all. They had been hiding, growing, evolving in isolation for 5 centuries. And now he had disturbed them. "What happened to you during those 500 years?" he asked, though part of him did not want to know the answer. "We changed," Elena said. We devoted ourselves to understanding our own nature. We studied why we were so good at conflict and whether we could channel that talent into something else. We built new societies based on different principles. We advanced our technology far beyond anything you can imagine. And most importantly, we learned discipline. We learned to control our expansionist urges and live peacefully within our boundaries. Dr. Valen spoke carefully. Then why the warnings? Why the threats? If you truly wish to be left alone, why not simply remain hidden? Because history has taught us that eventually someone always comes looking, the coordinator replied. Someone always thinks they can claim our territory or steal our technology or test our defenses. Every 50 years or so, a new species rises to prominence and decides that ancient warnings do not apply to them. They cross the boundary and we must respond. Thrakis felt ice forming in his veins. Respond how? Elena gestured, and new images appeared on the view screen. They showed fleets from different species, all trapped just as the Vorten ships were now. We give them the same choice we are giving you, Commander. Learn the truth, accept the lesson and leave forever. Or refuse and discover why humanity chose exile over conquest. Most choose wisely. Some do not. What happened to the ones who did not choose wisely? Thrakis asked, though his voice was barely audible. The coordinator's expression hardened. They learned that our restraint is not weakness. They discovered that the humans who withdrew from the galaxy 5 centuries ago are still fully capable of defending themselves. They face technology that makes their finest weapons look like children's toys. And they realized, too late, that some boundaries exist for very good reasons. As she spoke, one of the orbital stations began to glow more brightly. A beam of pure energy lanced out, striking one of the smaller Vorten ships at the edge of the formation. The vessel did not explode or break apart. Instead, it simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, and the next it had vanished completely, erased from reality as if it had never been. The demonstration took less than a second. 23 ships had entered human territory. Now there were 22. Commander, Mira gasped. The ship is gone. No debris, no energy signature, nothing. It is like it was deleted from existence. That is our lowest level defensive response, Elena said calmly. It causes no suffering, leaves no trace, and serves as a clear message. We have weapons that can do far worse, but we prefer not to use them. We are not monsters, Commander Thrakis. We are simply a species that understands its own capabilities and has learned to use them responsibly. Thrakis felt his legs weakening. His entire career, his reputation, his proud record of conquest, all of it meant nothing here. He was facing a civilization that could destroy his fleet with casual ease and had chosen not to simply because they preferred peaceful solutions. The realization was humbling and terrifying in equal measure. What do you want from us? He asked quietly. Only what we have always wanted, Elena replied. To be left alone. You will return to Vorten space. You will report to your superiors that this region is indeed under quarantine and that the warnings are absolutely genuine. You will tell them that humanity still exists and that we possess technology far beyond anything they can counter. And you will ensure that no Vorten vessel ever crosses this boundary again. And if we refuse? Thrakis had to ask, though he already knew the answer. Then we will remove your fleet from existence just as we removed that ship. Then we will send a delegation to your home world to deliver the message personally. We do not wish for conflict, Commander, but we will enforce our boundaries by whatever means necessary. 500 years of isolation have not made us weak. They have made us more capable than ever. Dr. Valen stepped forward again. May I ask one question, Coordinator? Elena nodded. How many humans are there now? How large has your civilization grown in 5 centuries of isolation? The Coordinator smiled again, and this time there was genuine warmth in it. That, Doctor, is a secret we will keep. Suffice it to say that we have used our time wisely. These 70 star systems contain more humans than existed in all our 600 colonies 5 centuries ago. We have grown and thrived in our exile. And we are content to remain here, undisturbed, for as long as the galaxy allows it. The containment field released its hold on the Vorten ships. Engines came back online and control returned to normal. The orbital stations began powering down, their lights dimming once again. The massive space fortress slowly moved back to its original position, resuming its disguise as a natural satellite. You are free to leave, Elena said. Return to your people and share what you have learned. And remember, Commander Thrakis, that some warnings exist not to challenge the brave, but to protect the foolish. Humanity chose exile to save the galaxy from ourselves. Do not make us regret that choice. The hologram faded, leaving the Vorten fleet alone in the silent system. Thrakis stood motionless for a long moment, staring at the empty space where the coordinator's image had been. Then he turned to his navigation officer. Set course for home. Maximum speed. We are leaving immediately. Yes, sir, the officer replied with obvious relief. As the fleet turned and began its journey back toward the perimeter, Thrakis looked at the abandoned cities on the planet below. They were not abandoned at all, he realized. Humanity was still there, still watching, still waiting. They had simply learned to be invisible, to exist without being seen. It was a level of discipline and restraint that the Vorten Collective could never achieve. When they crossed back through the line of beacons, new messages began broadcasting. Updated warnings that included specific mention of the Vorten Collective and the consequences of ignoring human territorial boundaries. Thrakis knew that his report would be difficult. He had lost a ship and discovered that everything his people believed about this region was false. But he had also learned a valuable lesson about arrogance and the importance of respecting boundaries. Dr. Valen approached him quietly. Commander, what will you tell the Council? Thrakis considered the question carefully. The truth. That we found something in the darkness that we should never have disturbed. That humanity did not go extinct but chose to leave. And that we should all be grateful they made that choice. Because if they had not, none of us would be free today. The fleet continued its journey home, leaving behind the Forbidden Zone and its mysterious guardians. Behind them, the warning beacons resumed their eternal vigil, broadcasting their message to anyone who might listen. Some warnings are meant to be heeded. Some boundaries are meant to be respected. And some species, no matter how powerful, understand that true strength lies not in conquest, but in knowing when to walk away.